from 2005 to 2006, Bullets and Octane were actually the supporting act for Avenged Sevenfold on their American and Europe legs of their City of Evil tour. I was wondering, from what you can recall, what is one of your most fondest memories of this particular tour? And of course, what was it like just touring with them so early on within your guys' career?
Yeah, man. I will say I've never been good at like not saying the things I'm supposed to say. I always, you keep stuff to yourself. But I will say I think it was pretty lucky now that where we are with where Avenged Sevenfold is. I look back on those days and I feel extremely lucky because they still were very, they were still like excited about, not that they're not, but, like young and like all this, we were kind of like all taking it in, like we were living through them of their excitement and their stardom, but they were very gracious to share that. So we all just kind of like lived it up like teenagers, to be honest with you, like all the bands. It was a huge camaraderie thing. And I remember there was a few times. I remember on a day off, Jimmy Sullivan was we were just in a parking lot in a bus, and he's like, "What do you guys want to do?" And so we had a couple cases of beer, and we found out where the local Guitar Center was, and we got like a limo or something, and we all got in a limo, went to a Guitar Center, and shut down the drum department, and just all were drinking beers and playing drums in a Guitar Center in some town. And it doesn't sound too exciting to anyone else, but I will never forget that. Like, who gets to just go do that, like on a random day in like Arkansas or something weird? But my favorite moment would be that we sat there one time and I was like, man, I want to get on stage with you guys. Let's just do a song. And so I think I still have the paper plate of the lyrics of Backcountry that Matt Shadows wrote the lyrics on for me. And we were going back and forth on lines. So it's in one of my videos somewhere where I'm on stage and we're singing Backcountry together. And I'm up there with Avenged Sevenfold doing that. And it was just the biggest, that was massive for Bullets, for me as a human, to even be a part of that. They had pyro, for crying out loud. Pyro.
And also, just coming off that tour in 2006, you guys actually inked a deal with the amazing RCA Records. I was wondering if you can actually tell us a story behind that record deal, and of course, how did you actually originally get discovered by them?
Yeah. Yeah, it was an interesting time. We were, we were pretty rough and raw, and we were all partying pretty heavy. So I can't imagine that we sounded very good live. I'll be honest, but we had a big fan base. We were selling out some stuff in Orange County, and the kids loved it. Everyone was singing along. So I think that they were primarily basing it off of stuff like that. Like, man, they're rough and raw, but like people are really reacting. It was a great reaction to people. So Matt Marshall was the A&R guy. He's the one who found like Modest Mouse and Tool and stuff like that back in the day. And him and his partner, they just kept coming out to shows. And to tell you the truth, I did this weird trick because I really was turned off to the whole thing, labels and stuff. And I don't know, I was doing the young punk rock thing, like too cool to sign to a deal. And I remember I would come off stage and I would say weird stuff. Like they'd come up to me and they'd be like, "Hey man, great show." And I'll look at them and just go, "Have you ever wondered if you fed a taco to a cat or a dog? Would they turn their heads the way we do? Would they do, how we turn our heads to eat tacos?" And I would walk away. And that's all I would say to them. And then the next show, they would show up. The two guys, Matt Marshall and Matt Walsh from RCA Records, would show up. And they'd have Polaroid pictures of feeding cats and dogs tacos. And they were like, "Look, the cats don't turn their heads, but the dogs did." And I remember looking at him like, "What are you guys even talking about?" So it was this weird, like, I guess I call it the Courtney Love syndrome, where you kind of just, you just kind of don't care and say goofy stuff. Because I tried for years to like work with different people, and I would say all the right answers. "Oh, we do really well in first markets up and down the West Coast. We sell this many T-shirts, this many," and nobody gave a shit. So it's kind of like the Morgan Freeman character in Shawshank Redemption. He keeps going in for parole. He says all the right stuff. "Oh, I'm a changed man. I've been reformed." And they reject his parole. Then he finally goes in and says, "Just, stamp your card, Sonny, and send me back to my cell and don't waste my time." So as soon as I kind of like did the old, I don't really give a shit thing, sure enough, we signed with RCA Records. So it was great because we got to have Paige Hamilton from Helmet produce it. What's his name? Ken Andrews from Failure and Year of the Rabbit. He was, I think he mixed the album. So we got to work with some people we looked up to once again from our influences of the 90s growing up.